Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, well, it's an urgent one. We're focusing entirely on potentially life-saving information. We're going deep into the source material from the National Hurricane Center. That's advisory number 26 on Hurricane Melissa. It's now a catastrophic Category 5. Our mission here is simple: give you the crucial details quickly and clearly. It is 5:000 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Monday, October 27th, 2025. And Melissa, Category 5. The time to prepare, it's basically over for some areas.
Yeah, catastrophic isn't an exaggeration here. The NHC advisory uses phrases like catastrophic and life-threatening winds, flooding, and storm surge. That's specifically for Jamaica. Starting tonight, running into early Tuesday, warnings are up further north to Bahamas, Turks, and Caicos, but the immediate crisis, the absolute focus, has to be Jamaica right now.
Okay, let's get those key facts out from the 5 p.m. EDT update. 2100 UTC, location, 16.7 north, 78.4 west. That puts it, about 140 miles southwest of Kingston, Jamaica? Very close.
Dangerously close.
And the intensity numbers, maximum sustained winds, 175 miles per hour. That's 280 kilometers per hour.
Yes, staggering power.
And this tells a story, too. Minimum central pressure is down to 906 millibars.
906, that pressure drop is. Well, it confirms this is a truly extreme, potentially historic storm. But what's really striking right now is the movement, or maybe the lack of movement.
Yeah.
It's crawling. Northwest at only 3 miles per hour. That's 6 kilometers per hour.
3 miles an hour. That's walking speed. And we've seen this before, haven't we? That slow crawl can be absolutely devastating.
It's brutal. It just parks those catastrophic conditions over one area for far too long.
Okay.
Think about the rainfall, the constant wind stress. It massively increases the flood and landslide risk, especially with Jamaica's terrain.
Right, the mountains.
Exactly.
Right.
But this slow drift isn't going to last. The advisory points to a pretty complex shift happening in the steering currents.
Okay, so what's controlling it now and what takes over if it's barely moving?
Well, right now you've got this big mid-level ridge to the north kind of blocking it, but that ridge is weakening. And at the same time, there's this deep layer mid-latitude trough moving east across the U.S. southeast.
Okay, deep layer trough. Can you break that down? Is that like a big atmospheric river that's going to grab Melissa?
That's a decent way to think about it, yeah. Less a river, maybe more like a huge conveyor belt in the upper atmosphere starting to engage. As that trough approaches and the ridge weakens, the dominant steering force becomes the broader westerly flow in the mid-latitudes. So Melissa goes from being sort of nudged along slowly to being actively pulled northeastward, and it's going to speed up significantly.
When does that speed up really kick in?
We expect a slow turn north tonight, then northeast on Tuesday with a bit more speed, but the real acceleration comes Wednesday and Thursday as that trough really takes hold.
Okay, let's track that path then chronologically. This is key for everyone downstream. Near or over Jamaica, late tonight and Tuesday, that's the immediate crisis zone.
Correct. Then, as it starts getting pulled by that trough, it crosses southeastern Cuba Tuesday night. We're talking provinces like Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, Holguin likely impacted.
And after Cuba, that's when the acceleration happens.
Yes, that's when it picks up speed significantly. It should cross the southeastern or central Bahamas during the day on Wednesday, moving more quickly northeast.
And further out, Bermuda.
The forecast track takes it into the vicinity of Bermuda by Thursday night. That's why the NHC is already saying, quite clearly, interests in Bermuda need to be monitoring this closely now.
This timeline really highlights the importance of understanding watches versus warnings. When that hurricane warning goes up, what does it mean practically for people?
It means time is essentially up for major preparations. Hurricane warning means those destructive hurricane conditions, 74-mile-per-hour winds or higher, are expected within 36 hours. Once that warning is issued, trying to do things like put up shutters or evacuate becomes dangerous, maybe impossible.
So the advisory is saying preparations should be complete in Jamaica.
It means exactly that. Find safe shelter and stay there. For Cuba, under the warning, preparations must be rushed to completion immediately.
And a watch gives you 48 hours, a bit more lead time. But with a storm this powerful and close, that distinction feels almost academic for those directly affected now.
It really does. The immediate danger for Jamaica and soon Cuba is undeniable.
Let's dig into those specific threats now, starting with the wind. Category 5, 175 mile per hour. How far out does that destructive power reach?
The core of the absolute worst winds, the hurricane force winds, extends out about 30 miles, 45 kilometers from the center. But the tropical storm force winds, which are still very dangerous, think major tree damage, widespread power outages, roof damage, those extend way out, up to 195 miles or 315 kilometers.
The advisory language for Jamaica is stark. Total structural failure is likely. And you mentioned the terrain earlier. There's a specific warning about higher elevations.
Yes, this is critical. They state that wind speeds in higher terrain could be up to 30% stronger.
30% stronger than 175 mile an hour. Why does that happen?
It's a phenomenon called topographic amplification, or sometimes mountain wave enhancement. Basically, wind flowing up a slope gets squeezed and accelerates. So if you start with 175 miles per hour near sea level, up in the hills, you could genuinely be looking at gusts well over 200, maybe approaching 225 miles per hour.
There's just nothing built to withstand that kind of force routinely.
Very little. It leads to complete destruction.
And this Cat 5 rating, it's not just an estimate, right? The NHC has data backing this up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They set the intensity at 150 knots, which is our 175 miles per hour. It's based on a blend of data. You have estimates from the reconnaissance aircraft, surface observations were available, but crucially, they use instruments called dropwindsonde.
Explain that for us. What's a dropwindsonde do?
Okay, so the plane flies into the storm, which is amazing in itself. Then they drop this instrument package on a parachute. As it falls, it's constantly measuring temperature, humidity, pressure, and crucially, wind speed and direction all the way down to the ocean surface.
So it gets you the winds where they actually matter most, near the ground or sea level, not just where the plane is flying.
Exactly. Flight level winds can be different. In this case, a drop sonde in the northeastern eyewall measured low-level winds that supported surface winds, possibly even a touch higher, around 155 knots. That really locks in the Category 5 intensity.
Solid data. But interestingly, the NHC discussion then immediately talks about potential fluctuations, like an eyewall replacement cycle.
Right. They acknowledge that these super intense storms often undergo internal changes. The eyewall can collapse, and a new, larger one can form. That can temporarily weaken the peak winds.
But they follow that with a major reality check.
They do. And it's probably the most important point about intensity right now.
Yeah.
There's no practical difference in Melissa making landfall at Category 4 or 5 intensity. Why? Because both produce catastrophic wind damage.
So essentially, don't get hung up on the exact number if it dips slightly to 155 mile per hour instead of 175. The outcome on the ground is likely the same level of devastation.
Precisely. The impact is catastrophic either way. Prepare for the worst-case scenario regarding wind. Total structural failure is possible regardless.
Okay, let's shift to water, which is often the bigger killer. The rainfall forecasts are terrifying. Jamaica. 15 to 30 inches, with isolated spots hitting 40 inches.
40 inches, it's almost unimaginable. In a relatively short period, maybe 24 to 48 hours over the island, the result the NHC predicts: catastrophic flash flooding and, critically, numerous landslides. Given Jamaica's topography, coastal plains quickly rising to steep hills and mountains, that much water is a recipe for widespread, devastating landslides.
And this rain threat doesn't stop at Jamaica. Eastern Cuba is looking at 10 to 20 inches, locally maybe 25 inches.
Yes, same threat profile there. Life-threatening, potentially catastrophic flash flooding, and numerous landslides expected as Melissa crosses.
And Hispaniola. Haiti and the Dominican Republic, they're not directly in the path of the core, but they're getting more rain.
They are, and this is a huge concern. They're forecast to get an additional 6 to 12 inches through Wednesday. This is on top of any rain they might have already had. Given the vulnerability there, particularly in Haiti, with deforestation and infrastructure challenges, this amount of rain is likely to cause extensive damage, washouts, and critically isolate communities.
That isolation is key. It hampers rescue, aid, everything.
It turns a natural disaster into a prolonged humanitarian crisis. Absolutely.
Okay, the third major threat, storm surge. The wall of water pushed ashore. What are the numbers for Jamaica's south coast?
This is incredibly dangerous. Near and to the east of where the center makes landfall on the south coast, peak surge could reach 9 to 13 feet above a normally dry ground.
9 to 13 feet. That's water well over the roof of a single-story house.
And it's not just still water rising. It comes with large, destructive waves on top of it, adding immense force. Even on the northwest coast, say near Montego Bay, they could see 1 to 3 feet, which is still enough to cause significant coastal flooding issues.
And the surge threat moves with the storm towards Cuba.
Yes. Southeastern Cuba could see significant surge, potentially 7 to 11 feet above normal tides, arriving late Tuesday or into Wednesday.
And then the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos.
Further north, as Melissa moves through on Wednesday, the forecast is for 4 to 6 feet of storm surge above normally dry ground in the southeastern Bahamas and TCI. So this threat persists over a large area and multiple days.
Let's just quickly reiterate those hurricane warnings again. Where exactly are they in effect right now?
Okay, hurricane warning is in effect for all of Jamaica. the Cuban provinces of Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and Holguin, and the southeastern and central Bahamas.
So anyone in those areas, conditions are expected within 36 hours, and preparations should really be done.
Absolutely. And even outside the warning areas, the impacts are starting. Large swells from Melissa are already generating dangerous surf and rip currents for Hispaniola, Jamaica, eastern Cuba, the Caymans. And those dangerous conditions will spread to the Bahamas, TCI, and eventually Bermuda later this week.
Looking further out, what happens to Melissa eventually? We know land interaction with Jamaica and Cuba will weaken it somewhat.
It will weaken it, yes, due to moving over land and also encountering some increasing southwesterly wind shear. But, and this is important, it's still expected to be an extremely powerful major hurricane when it moves across Cuba and emerges near the Bahamas.
So still very dangerous even after crossing land. What finally causes it to dissipate or change?
As it moves further northeast over the Atlantic later in the week, it's forecast to encounter much stronger wind shear. That will cause more significant weakening. The official forecast has it becoming extratropical by the end of the 5-day forecast period.
Extratropical, so it loses its hurricane characteristics. What does that involve, interacting with a baroclinic low?
Exactly. It loses its warm core, the engine of a tropical cyclone. A baroclinic low is basically a large, non-tropical weather system, more like the lows you see in winter, driven by temperature contrasts. When Melissa interacts with one of these big systems over the North Atlantic, it gets absorbed, loses its symmetry, and essentially transitions into a part of that larger, messier, low-pressure system.
So an eventual end, but days away. For now, the message has to be about the immediate extreme danger. Our final summary for you, the listener. If you are in Jamaica or eastern Cuba, your preparations must be complete. Conditions are going downhill rapidly.
And let's hammer home those 4 key messages from the NHC. 1. Jamaica residents. Be in safe shelter. Understand total structural failure is possible, especially in the hills. 2. Expect catastrophic flooding and potential isolation in Haiti and the DR due to the heavy rainfall there. 3. Eastern Cuba. Finish preparations now for life-threatening surge and wind arriving late Tuesday. And 4. Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. Follow local officials closely. Complete all your preparations by Tuesday night.
The level of detail in the advisory is sobering. As you take all this in, we want to leave you with a final thought, stemming directly from that wind detail we discussed. Think about this. Given that specific warning about wind amplification up to 30% stronger in Jamaica's higher elevations, what are the longer-term impacts? Consider the infrastructure often placed on that high ground, communication towers, power substations, maybe even isolated clinics. That extreme amplified wind risk to critical infrastructure could mean power outages, communication blackouts, and the resulting isolation might last much, much longer than usual, creating profound challenges well after the storm passes. Something to consider.
Please stay safe. Listen to your local emergency managers. This is an extremely dangerous storm.
That was the deep dive. We'll continue monitoring and bring you updates as needed.